We're talking about the Jets trade with Sauce Gardner. The Cowboys have just traded for Jets Pro Bowl defensive tackle Quinnen Williams, sending a first-round pick and more to the Jets. So the Cowboys send the Jets another first-round pick.
That was the big trade that Jerry was teasing last night.
I mean, clearly, I wasn't getting a linebacker from the Bengals. This had to have been the big deal. The Jets have now today acquired and amassed 3 different first-round picks. They desperately need a quarterback in a draft that the Browns look like they desperately need a quarterback as well.
And we don't know how many quarterbacks are worthy of said desperation in the upcoming draft as well. So that is a little bit challenging. And I mean, look, I think the Jets just blew by the Browns. When you talk about asset accumulation, positioning, it's one of the things that I have been extolling as far as what a nice job was done by Andrew Berry in that trade with Jacksonville, securing a second first-round pick so that they had the flexibility to where they didn't have to lose theirself or fail their way into the number 1 or number 2 pick. They could buy their way into it. And my thinking was, I really don't care about the 2027 first-rounder. I'll throw that in just for fun if that means that you're in a position to draft your franchise quarterback, assuming the player that is there is worthy of such a selection. But based on what the Jets have done today, poof, I think all that's been completely blown out of the water, and now it's the New York Jets, regardless of how they finish this season. They're the team in the driver's seat to jump in front of the Browns here to be able to get that quarterback.
Well, and we're going to talk more about this game, obviously, as the week moves on, but it makes this game this week that much more important because in the Browns taking on the Jets this Sunday, the loser of this game would, in fact, be in that driver's seat that you're talking about.
It's a tanktastic spectacular coming your way,
and it feels
Sunday
like,
afternoon.
Well, so if the Browns want to win this weekend, if they're still trying to get wins, and I don't know, you tell me if you think they are or they aren't, but when you trade...
they are starting Dylan Gabriel still, so...
I think about how much easier Dylan Gabriel's life just became, though. Pro Bowl defensive tackle Quinnen Williams, multi-all-pro cornerback Sauce Gardner, both gone now. Like that's kneecapping the Jets defense in such a way that was already pretty kneecapped, all things considered.
Do I broken record it again and say, well, hey, if Dylan Gabriel can't light up the New York Jets, he's not going to light up, because I said the same thing about the Patriots.
I said the thing about the Patriots too, right. Same exact thing. And so that, but it's more of a premium. You are coming off of a bye week, and you are playing a Jets team that is having a fire sale right now.
And you have a new play caller. Let's not discount that massive change.
I mean, this isn't just opening up a garage sale and putting a couple items out on the front lawn and saying maybe come over and buy it. This is putting the whole house on the market here.
Yeah.
And the Jets are in the accumulation of draft picks business, and they've done so in a big-time way today.
Yeah, they're where the Browns were in 2016, right? When they were actually 2015 as well, where they were just doing nothing but collecting draft picks.
Now, I'm thinking about it. If you had 3 first-round picks for next year, and I'm making the assumption because Dallas has 2 first-round picks for this upcoming draft, that one of those 2 is what's being traded and moved over here, you would make an assumption then that if Fernando Mendoza is number 1 overall, they'd be in the driver's seat to go ahead and move up and get Mendoza, get Dante Moore, get one of these quarterbacks. But it does bring up the idea that Cam Ward and the Titans last year, the Tennessee Titans were offered 3 first-round picks for that number 1 spot to get rid of Cam Ward.
Right.
They were offered that. And like that, just because you accumulate a million amount of draft picks, the only security you have in the NFL of being able to take a quarterback at number 1 overall is the idea that you are the number 1 pick. Jets now have 2 first-round picks in 2026, like they had entering after the Sauce Gardner trade. They have 2 second-round picks in 2026 as well, and they have 3 first-round picks now in 2027. Now, Daryl, that doesn't mean necessarily that they're going to load up and get the quarterback in 2026 if they have 3 first-round picks in 2027. If anything, it actually gives them the leeway to be able to do what the Browns pulled off the first go-around, where you drafted Myles Garrett because he was an obvious Hall of Famer, and you took him number 1 overall, and then you went Baker Mayfield in the second draft. But it gives them a little bit more flexibility when it comes to what they want to do and what moves in the chessboard they want to make.
It's always better to build your team, the infrastructure of your team in the trenches before you have the quarterback, okay? Because you look at the Bengals, right? I mean, with Joe Burrow. And what's been the biggest issue down there for? But besides, I realize
they did it a different way though, because they drafted Joe Burrow and then the next year they drafted Jamar Chase.
Right.
And so like they did it almost in the reverse of what we're discussing. Because remember that the Jamar Chase draft, they had the choice of either Penei Sewell or Jamar Chase. Neither one was a bad workout. Penei Sewell was having an awesome career, but Jamar's one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. But they went quarterback first and then kind of worked everything out after that.
Well, they would be smart to use a couple of those picks on offensive linemen to make sure that when you are ready to draft that quarterback, you're solid up front. Here's the bad news for the Browns.
Okay.
Their entire offensive line hits free agency, basically.
Yeah. Okay.
So, you guys played the audio yesterday. I heard you, Wyatt Teller in the locker room. I was there along with, a lot of my other colleagues, and, he gave his, please don't trade me speech, which is understandable. Everyone loves Wyatt. He's one of the best in the business. And of the offensive linemen that are about to have expiring contracts, he's the one guy I'd like them to keep, not trade.
Yeah.
And trading him would make no sense if you got young quarterbacks. But the point is that, even if you have your young, quote-unquote, franchise quarterback, we see this time and time again around the National Football League where they fail to fortify the trenches to protect said young quarterback, which then hinders the young quarterback, which then usually ends up with the young quarterback washing out or getting hurt or both.
I mean, yes, we've seen it a million different ways. It's odd that you actually brought up the Bengals within that, because I think the Bengals would be the one case you could make where it's like...
Well, the reason I brought the Bengals up was because they had the quarterback but no offensive line.
Yeah, but still, even within that the construct of what they did and what they tried to do, they made it to the Super Bowl in year 2 of Joe Burrow. I mean, they clearly achieved what they were trying to achieve. Now, there's other questions we have around the Bengals, but they felt they had enough, and they also felt they had a quarterback that could withstand the idea that he didn't need an offensive line. That's a bad bet by them.
Yeah.
And it's also the bet that Joe Burrow almost forced them to make, and being like, again, I bring up Penei Sewell and Jamar Chase to kind of exaggerate that point, is that Joe's had his hand in a lot of this. He has not been oh, you guys never get me offensive linemen, how dare you? It's like, no, we can do without offensive linemen because here's the shiny toy. Like, it's the construct of the NFL and how you put together a team that is so fascinating. But what's fascinating about what the Jets are doing is that I think first blush reaction when we thought it was going to be 3 first-round picks in this next draft that they would have.
They're selling everything.
It's a fire sale.
Yeah.
But are they doing that to stock up for this draft with the quarterback, or are they doing that where now they have 3 first-rounders in 2027 to be able to say, all right,
think about that.
The quarterback has to really wow us. Like, whoever that is, if that's Mendoza, if that's Dante Moore, they have to be awesome. Very similar in the way when the Browns took Myles Garrett at number 1 overall. Now, the Browns were wrong here. That was a draft that Patrick Mahomes went number 11 overall. Like, that was a draft that Mahomes existed in. All sorts of good quarterbacks existed in that draft. But you get to make that evaluation.
But at least they did draft a future Hall of Famer.
Well, and that was it. And Myles was unquestionably, and that was the scouting report top to bottom, unquestionably, they've never seen anybody more guaranteed to be a Canton Hall of Famer than Myles Garrett. And look how it's played out.
We should all be thanking Greg Williams, since he is the one that is taking the credit for convincing the Browns to draft Myles Garrett. At least that is, if you ask Greg Williams.
Well, I mean, really, in reality, what he did is avoid us drafting probably Mitch Trubisky, if we're being honest about
100%. Well, because that's what it came down to. It came down to
because Trubisky then goes number 2 to the Bears. Obviously, Mahomes goes later on to the Chiefs, but it would have been Trubisky if you hadn't gone Myles.
Right.
But ultimately...
He saved the Browns from doing a very Brownsian thing.
Well, so what's interesting, though, so we bring up what the Jets' plan is, and you talked about having the other pieces figured out and the other parts of the team figured out. If the Jets are, in fact, loading up on 2 first-rounders in 2026, 2 second-rounders in 2026, and 3 first-rounders in 2027, shouldn't the same rules apply to the Browns? Because I don't see any Browns fans, Daryl, that are suggesting we do anything but take a quarterback in 2026. Is this team built up enough? Was 2025 and the draft that we just had, is that enough of a here's your draft to pretty much nail, try to get right, and then 2026 you're off to the races? Would we be 1 year ahead of what it looks like the Jets are from that standpoint?
Yeah, possibly. I mean, the Houston Texans are the last team to have 5 first-round picks over a 2-year span. They had that thanks in part to the Cleveland Browns from 2022 to 2023.
Okay.
Now, mixed reviews on...
because I'm just thinking about the Browns one. Where the Browns... Because we had 3 first-rounders. That was the Njoku, the Denzel Ward, and the Baker draft.
They drafted Kenyon Green, a guard, linebacker Christian Harris, Mechie, the receiver, they drafted him.
Yeah.
And then the following year, they went C.J. Stroud, got the quarterback, and then another linebacker, Will Anderson Jr.
But they did it, though, at a time when people thought it was a little too premature as well. I mean, remember, that team was coming off, I think it was like a 2 or maybe a 4-win season the year prior.
And 3 of those picks were in the top 5.
But we talk about this with Washington, too. Washington, when they got Jayden Daniels, their first year, they had traded off all sorts of pieces of that defensive line the year prior, the 2 Pro Bowlers they had the year prior. They traded and sent off, and they were getting ready to kind of bottom out a little bit while understanding that Jayden Daniels would be able to step in and it would take time. And then Jayden Daniels, that first year, there's only 2 Pro Bowlers on that roster. First year of Jayden Daniels, just last season, NFC title game. It was him and Terry McLaurin. That was it. A team that went to the NFC title game had just 2 Pro Bowlers on its roster. Like, there's so many ways that you can do this, and I'm not going to try to put myself in the brain of what the Jets are trying to do necessarily. Right. But I am curious as to trying to figure out if they're on a race to try to get the quarterback, or if there's going to be another player in this draft that is a Myles Garrett type that they just can't resist, and they're going to take the longer term approach on it. Or maybe they look at these quarterbacks, Daryl, and they say Fernando Mendoza's 6'5". He's massive. He's got a good arm. He's got a lot of things that you'd want. Not for me. Maybe they look at Dante Moore and they're just like, you know what? I don't see it. I need more can't miss. 2027 Arch Manning's coming out, and they think higher of him than what people currently think of Arch Manning. I don't know. You tell me. But like from a Browns getting a quarterback perspective, what the Jets pulled off today in a fire sale is fascinating for a million different reasons. But it feels like they have more pieces on the chessboard than the Browns currently do, and more moves that they can pull off than the Browns currently can.
And it's not just quality first-round picks. They've got the second-round ammunition as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like they have, they really are loaded now to go into a full-fledged rebuild this offseason with young talent centered around their first and second round draft picks. Like they if they do it right, and that's a big if. We said this about the Browns back in 15, 16, 17, right? If you do it right, you're going to be able to put a contender together rather quickly, assuming that one of those picks is, in fact, a quarterback on a rookie contract that is able to produce for you in rather rapid fashion. And by rapid fashion, I mean within the first 3 years of that rookie contract, because that really is the formula in the NFL. Now, the Chiefs have been able to sustain it with Patrick Mahomes, right? Mm-hmm. But we saw the Baltimore Ravens do this with Lamar Jackson, ideally, and we saw Bengals too with Joe Burrow. They got to the Super Bowl, as you mentioned. Second year with Burrow, they get to the Super Bowl. It's about on the rookie contract, which puts a lot on those rookie quarterbacks, but it's get to a Super Bowl, be in position to win a Super Bowl on that rookie deal.
Yeah.
Then we worry about paying you the market rate in year 6. Mm-hmm. That's a long time down the road. And we thought for a split second that the Browns had hit the formula with Baker Mayfield because they got to the playoffs. I think it was in year 3 of Baker. It was 2020, 18, yeah. 19, 20. Yes, year 3 of Baker. They get to the playoffs, and I remember we were having those conversations about even after they ended up getting bounced by the Chiefs in the divisional round. We were sitting here counting the chickens before they hatched, talking about, oh, yeah, they'll be in the AFC Championship game. They're now a Super Bowl contender, and they get Odell, and that over the top, right? Mm-hmm. And it just, unfortunately, it all fell apart. And it just shows you how fragile roster building in the National Football League ultimately can be, too.
And the amount of different routes that you can take. It is a choose-your-own-adventure book, and that's why, as we inch closer and closer to the 4 o'clock deadline, I think it's so fascinating to find out what pieces the Browns take and what pieces the Browns kind of leave to the side. Will the Browns be in pick accumulation business? Will they be trading David Njoku? Will they be trading Shelby Harris? Will they be trading all these other type of players to get as many picks and as much ammo as they can? Or go ahead.
My favorite part of X is when players weigh in on stuff. And it's usually with
Mine is when they retweet your tweets. Thank you, Mike Hall.
So Breece Hall,
different Hall
of the New York Jets running back, just posted the cry, like not the cry, but the tearing up emoji.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
with 3 dots.
Well, because he wanted to be traded. He wants to be on a different team. Right, he wants to be a Kansas City Chief right now. He doesn't want to be a New York Jet, especially. And here's the hard part: when you do something like this right now, you are telling that fan base. And listen, it was going poorly as is, but you're telling that fan base, hey, buckle up. We're going for the number 1 pick. Like, you want to know how hard it's going to be for the Browns to pull off a loss this Sunday? Not only with their 2 of their best players just now traded, but more the idea, Daryl, that this Jets team, and you can't tell Garrett Wilson to lose, you can't tell Breece Hall to lose, obviously, but like they're a defeated team as is.
But you sure can position them to lose.
Well, and now the front office is giving away all the good pieces. They're letting anybody that matters be traded for first-round picks, and it's just like that's got to be crushing. And like the goal,
this is a going out of business sale. The
yes.
Jets are now Spirit Halloween.
The goal of that front office is to what now, Daryl? It's to lose every single game the rest of the year. At least Browns fans, we don't have that right now. We're changing play callers. They at least seem like they're trying to win games in a season that maybe we should be talking about when at what point we stop trying to win games. But the Browns at least seem like they're trying to win at this point.
I don't know. Maybe that's the poll of the day. When should the Browns wave the white flag?
I'm not there yet, Daryl.
You're not there yet?
I'm not. I can't do that convo right now. I don't want to do that convo right now.
Well, you're ready to do the convo right about now. Should the Browns lose Sunday in New York against the Jets? Does it help them or not?
They're going. I mean, I just think the game matters so much now for draft positioning.
Right.
Like, it's so obvious it matters so much because we have the first team out there in the Jets that are actively saying, we don't care about winning this year. We're not in the winning business for this season. We are in the draft pick accumulation business, and we're trying to get as many draft picks as we can, and we're trying to get as high of a draft pick as we can, whereas the Browns just aren't. The Browns just haven't swerved towards that. Maybe in the next hour and a half they will, though, Daryl. Maybe it'll change. Maybe in the next hour and a half the Browns will swerve towards that.
Maybe it's a shame that Philadelphia made that trade yesterday.
Ooh, you wanted to go ahead and, like, now would be like, hey, go trade Miles? Maybe they'd be like encouraged by the idea that the Jets are doing this?
Mighty fine idea the Jets have going right now. Because, look, I mean, let's be honest about it. I think that the Browns rebuild from the 4-44 stretch, I think it ran its course, unfortunately. And all you got out of it was 2 playoff appearances and 1 playoff win.
Yeah.
That's it.
No, you didn't get enough. You didn't get enough.
You got, for all that misery, and I remember that misery like it was yesterday, you're back to square one. You've won 5 of your last 25. In 21 of those games, you failed to score more than 17 points.
Yeah.
Your record is a little better, okay? The pace is a little further along, but you're almost right back to 4-44, it feels like.